Hey everybody. Sorry, it took a little while for it to turn on, but we have a class today on how to poach an egg. And I haven't done this before. I mean, I have, but I don't think I did it very well. So we're gonna try again. But the thing with poached egg is poached just basically means that you have to soak it in water. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our pan here and we're gonna put 2 to 3 inches of water in here and then cook the eggs for about 2 to 3 minutes. I have my eggs here and they are ready to go. So I don't want to break the yolks though, because that's one of the most important parts is actually the yolk, because what you want is that perfect yolk where it just spills out, and so I have some toast that I'm going to use for that. Alright, so I'm going to get started, but first I need to put some water in here. And like I said, this is the first way, I guess, that I've ever done this method of cooking an egg. So here we go. Like I said, I'm going to fill this pan. And it says 2 to 3 inches of water. I think I went. No, that's about right. You kind of eyeball a lot of stuff like this to make sure that you have the correct dimensions. But this is about 2 to 3 inches of water. Then what we're going to do is we're going to turn the water on. And we're going to get this to a boil. But you want it to be at kind of a slow boil, at least from what I've read. And then as things kind of come to a slow boil, then we can put the eggs in. But I don't just want a poached egg. What I want is I want an egg with some toast. So I'm going to put some toast or some bread in here and then toast it. For me, I'm also going to add some butter. The reason is, butter kind of makes everything taste fantastic. So I'll just let that kind of soak into the water. And then what it will do is impart it into the eggs. And, it'll taste great. But now I need to wash my hands, otherwise I might accidentally drop something. We always need to make sure that we have everything covered, especially when it comes to eggs, because eggs are something that, well, if you eat them raw, it can make you feel not well. I don't want anybody to watch a cooking class of mine and not do the appropriate steps, because you could really start to feel sick. The water's starting to feel a lot better. From the instructions that I read, sorry, this is butter and water, is that what you want is a slotted spoon, which slots just mean this. You just have different, like it can actually drain the water out when everything gets started. And so you want this. And then in order to make sure that you can dry the eggs off, you want some paper towels so that it doesn't soak through the toast. You don't want it to soak through that. Water and toast, they don't really, unless you really like wet toast, they don't work well together. But for me, I prefer drier toast, and then just let the yolk actually be the one that spreads everything. Now I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna give it a look-see. It looks like it's doing really well. And it smells really good. So we know we're happy. The water is definitely taking a little bit of time to heat up. But that's why we try to do two things at once, at least when you're cooking. Because ultimately, you want to get everything done kind of at the same time. And I think that you might have seen that from my Thanksgiving video, but this is the same thing, is we want to get this going. And we can even, I'm going to turn up the temperature and have this really start to go. Now, we want to make sure we don't burn our toast. And we want to cook our eggs very evenly. I'm going to turn on the burner just to make sure, but as you can see, I don't know if you can see that well. Let me adjust this. Oh, no, you can't. We want to get this to a boil. And then what you want to do is once it's at the boil, which is it's good to explain this as I'm going through. Once you get it to a boil, then what you want to do is you want to get it to a simmer and then adjust the heat so that it stays at a simmer. So right now it's getting very warm, but we don't want to get it too hot. And even the butter's not sitting that well, and it's on a very high temperature. So, like I said, I'm kind of a novice when it comes to a lot of different things. So we're gonna learn together, and this is what I like about these videos, is that we get to learn together. But what I can see is that it's starting to bubble. It's starting to do its thing. Now it's much too hot for me to push the butter around the way it is now. But what I can do is use the slotted spoon and move it around. And eventually, what's going to happen is this water is going to start to boil. And then we'll really want to make sure that we don't let it go past. And I can see bubbles forming right now inside the water. And as they bubble, it's going to suddenly hit a boil. And I want to make sure that I take care of that correctly. Because it can be, well, suddenly, if you're not paying attention, which I've done before, it can overflow. And we don't want that. All we want right now is a nice, just rolling boil, which just means the bubbles are just going, but they're not going in a direction that you can't control. And so we're going to wait for that. And then, again, once this actually gets going to where we want it and we readjust the timer, then I'm going to take my eggs and I'm going to place them in here. And I'll set a timer for about 2 to 3 minutes. And during that time, you'll kind of start to see, like, and as you can see now, but you'll kind of start to see it becoming the eggs that you want to eat. But again, you don't want to lessen the time. In a lot of ways, eggs are better to overcook than undercook, because again, they can be, oh, I'm getting a phone call. And I'm going to turn my phone down real fast. I'm sorry, everybody. I will call them back as soon as we're done with the class. But again, we just want to make sure that we're doing everything correctly. And I want to make sure that if you make this for somebody in your family, that you make a delicious one. But again, eggs, if they're overcooked, that's all right. If they're undercooked, it's not. And in the second part of our class today, we'll be going over temperatures when it comes to eggs and things like that. So we're almost at a boil. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit more and get it to that rolling boil. And it's starting to get there. I think you can see some of the steam coming off of this, but it's starting to get there. Now, typically what I would do is I would have probably one egg, and I would cook it just for Melanie. But today I want an egg too, because I want to see if I've done a good job. And so far, so good. But now we're at that kind of boil level. I'm going to let it sit for a bit. And then what I'm going to do is turn it down because the water is hard enough to actually do this. So I'm going to go down on my oven to about 6. Just to keep it at this level. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this, the eggs, and we're going to place them in the water. Now you want to do that gently. And again, they're eggs, so you want to be very careful. So I'm going to set the timer here for 2 minutes. And then we're going to let them cook for 2 minutes. So I will pause the video for now. And then we'll kind of come back to everything. So I'll be right back. Alright, welcome back everybody. So I went more like 3 minutes just to make sure that they're doing well. This is where you want the slotted spoon, and you also want something for it to drain on, which I'm going to use this for. So I'm going to take these out. Wish me luck. You don't want to scrape any of the bottom, only because a lot of this is not the best thing to scrape. So we're going to take these. Right now, the yolks look great. Okay. So I've got one. And again, I want to let it drain all the water. I got my second one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get, again, this is why it's good to have a slotted spoon. I'm going to try my best to get these. It's not working very much. But these look great. Set this over to the side. And just try to scrape up as much as I can, and it's not really, you don't want to scrape, I'm sorry. But as best you can, you want to take these and move them over. There we go. I've got one more piece to go. And then what I want to do is I want to take this and move it to a cooler side of the stove. Now these yolks look fantastic. We're happy about that. But what I need to do is let them drain a little bit. Just let the water go. And as I'm doing that, I don't need my slotted spoon anymore. But then I want to salt and pepper both of them. Which just makes the flavors kind of come out. And you don't want too much, because sometimes I do too much. And then we're gonna pepper them too. We are good to go, but I'm gonna let them cool down a little bit. But this has been poached eggs, and they look great. They really do. But they're cooking through, so I need to eat them kind of quickly. So I'm gonna let you go. Alright, I miss y'all, and I hope to see you soon.